Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back to the show. Jaime Breeze, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Jill. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the show. Pleasure to have you here. Looks like you're in a different location. Can we discuss where you are?
I'm in the tropical location of Edmonton, Alberta. I have, that's sarcastic. We have a major storm going on behind me. So it's extremely windy. So if you hear any kind of whistling noises, that's what's happening.
Well, gosh, yeah. We had almost 2 feet of snow out on Long Island. So on Saturday, so it was so nice. But how much snow do you get in Canada?
We've had so much this year. And so for those of you who don't know, I live in the Rockies. So Jasper National Park, and Edmonton is our closest kind of major city, which is like a 4-5. So you come here to get supplies.
Got it.
Run kind of thing.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So that's why I'm here today. Yeah.
Great. I love the snow. It's a nice treat. You get more of it than we do. So by the way, say hello, introduce yourself. I know we're going to have a great topic today. Our animal communicator, our medium, our psychic, our friend Jaime's here joining us. Jaime, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Jaime Breeze. As Jill said, I'm a psychic, spiritual medium, and animal communicator. I live in the Northern Canadian Rocky Mountains, and I work with clients all over the world. Zoom is a beautiful thing, and spirit's a beautiful thing. Energy is everywhere, so we can definitely do readings all over Zoom. My website is jaimebreeze.com, JAIMEBREEZE.com, and you can follow me at The Mountain Medium on Instagram.
Great. And she's been very helpful with me. By the way, my cat, just letting you know, Cuddles is still alive and well right now. I never got to see the vet in person. He never got to come over to see the kids, but he's been happy and fine right now. So we'll see what happens. But you did help me a few weeks ago. For those that don't know, I sent her a picture of Cuddles, and she's able to look at his eyes and she could sense something going on with him. Maybe it's the liver, maybe it's the helping, it's hurting his neurological issues with his back and his legs. But right now he's okay. So thank you for that again. And any good stories to share with us today?
Yeah, I wanted to talk today about a topic that is really close to my heart. And that is the spirituality and psychic abilities of young people, specifically children. And I feel like it's extremely overlooked and even ignored in society. And as I mentioned before, Jill, I was a very spiritual child growing up. I remember the age of 3 reenacting past lives I had. I lived in a very, what I'll call, spiritually active household as well, meaning things always did go bump in the night for me. Nighttime as a child who was very psychically in tuned was not a fun thing. It was terrifying for me. And as soon as the sun would go down, that's about the time where I would start dreading going to bed. Thankfully, I did have very supportive parents and who would try and help me deal with everything that I was experiencing. However, back in those days, we didn't have internet, so it was a lot harder. And we did come from a rural community. So if my mom wanted to go to the library to read books on hauntings or whatever, it was a process. I'd wake up in the night sometimes. I'd have spirits tapping me on the shoulder. My cat would go wild in my room. There were times when I'd even wake up and my brother's toys would be sitting in my room. They moved in on their own somehow. And as a child, that is extremely terrifying, even as an adult, if that happens.
Of course.
Breakdown. So, this was something that I was kind of in my own bubble about. I spoke openly to my peers about seeing spirits, predicting futures. I even had my economics teacher in high school ask me to give him a reading in front of the class one day because he was just like, okay, let's do this. So, I was kind of on my own, and that was extremely stressful. and I didn't know how to go about it until I was about 16. I was waitressing, and this little girl at the table looked up at me and she said, do you know you have lots of ghosts around you? And I was like, yeah, yeah.
So she's able to see it too.
I was like, yes, I do. Thank you. What do I do? And her grandfather was with her, and he pulled out this card. He's like, contact my friend. And so I contacted this woman who turned out to be a spiritual healer, and she worked with a lot of the indigenous cultures around our area. So I was 16 at that time. So I started working with her constantly. And again, my parents would have to drive me. This is about an hour from where we lived. She taught me, what was going on around me. And with that experience, I've recently decided this past year, I developed a program for kids and teens. So it's Psychic Kids and Teens program. And what my goals are for there is to teach our psychic children how to hone on their abilities and not be scared of them.
Aww.
Yeah, so to help them understand why you're seeing grandma who passed away last year is standing in your room at night.
Mm-hmm.
Why there's like people walking through your walls. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is the importance of it and how it can really help future generations if we're just more aware.
Wow. I mean, can I just ask you a quick? So you say you see people you've seen. Do you still see people walk through walls? This is fascinating. When do you see that, or how often? And you see ghosts and they're physically there, and you try to touch them, but they're like invisible. Like, how does it work? Or they're just at a distance and you see them and then they disappear. I'm just so curious with this concept. I believe you, and I'm like, I wish I could see these. Can you explain it a little deeper?
Yeah. So as a child, I would physically see spirit like I'm seeing you now.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can just tell. So I'm very sensitive to energy. So I would know it wasn't an actual human, it was a spirit of sorts. Now, spirit, when I talk about spirit, I'm talking about our higher source energies, and whether that's a God, angels, Buddha, whatever. I work with source energy, so a higher power. They've kind of shut that off for me because it was terrifying. So now, me personally, what I see is in my mind's eye.
Okay.
So my eye. So now I'm not physically seeing it in front of me, but I'm knowing it's there up in here from the energy room and flashes of information. But so many children are seeing these physical apparitions in a way. So that's terrifying for them. I had a kid, kind of off topic, but one of my clients a couple weeks ago, her grandson always plays with his little car in the corner. And it was a complete instant when I was doing her reading. I'm like, is your mother on the other side? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, she's sitting in the corner and your son is playing cars with her. And they're showing me a blue truck, and like the blue truck is his favorite. And grandma always sits in the corner. That was her chair. So
holy cow. You always make me cry in a good way. I got goosies. And it's like, wow, this is so powerful. So wow.
So this three grandma in the corner, and she wants to be a part of her grandson's life, and so he's seen her. But you know what's going to happen, and not with my client because she's going to very encourage it, but in reality, what that would happen is parents would say, oh, that's an imaginary friend, or stop talking to yourself and stuff. And what happens is society turns that away from our children. And so they start losing touch, or they start not being open about it. And then they're holding it all together. And it's just kind of this snowball effect of like, what's happening? So I've seen an apparition and I'm communicating with spirit, but mom and dad are telling me I'm crazy. So that's kind of what I'm trying to change and help those kids and teens who do take my program. And children these days are so susceptible with like internet and all the information that they're being told on social media and in school and from other peers, that it's very,
Wow.
so that's one of my goals here, is to encourage this, and even have parents to start acknowledging, okay, maybe it's not an imaginary friend my child has. Maybe it's a relative from the other side. Maybe it's an angel. Maybe it's their guardian angel. And, the angels
Yeah.
are us on this planet.
And let's be supportive about it. My goodness. Let me ask you, what are some of the programs that you offer, especially to those youth or people out there who may have this gift? This is another aspect of your business, which I wasn't aware of. So you're actually helping and training medium psychics, those with these abilities as well. Awesome. Explain.
Yeah, so my Psychic Kids and Teen program, I wanted to develop it. It's a 3-week program, and whether you do it 3 weeks back to back, 3 days back to back, or whatever, that is completely up to you, because I really want to make it attainable for everyone. Our kids have so many extracurricular activities, and so I want to go based on their schedule. So my classes are usually one-on-one. However, I do have a sister-brother duo right now. They're 9 and 11. And so they take it at the same time after class every Wednesday, or after school every Wednesday. And it's great. And because of their age, their mom does like to sit in as well, which I think is fabulous, because now mom can help them.
And understand and be supportive and not scared or not dismissive of their thoughts, their feelings, their visions.
Exactly. And now mom is going to be okay. Did you guys do your homework? Because I do give homework. But the homework, it's only 20 seconds a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the basis of these programs is to be firm, know how to do your spiritual protection.
Mm-hmm.
We need to put a shield of light around us every day, because especially the younger people are like sponges, and they pick up energy, whether good or bad, from walking into their classroom. They walk into a classroom of 20 people, and all those kids' energies are going to be compiling on them. Or they walk into a building that has had, a murder there 20 years ago, and they're still picking up on that energy. So now they're going home and having meltdowns, being like, why am I feeling so stressed out while my friends are out playing on the playground? It's because they're picking up all these energies. So my first class, I always want to teach a spiritual protection bubble. And that's as simple as envisioning a ball of light starting at your toes every morning and going completely around your body. So it's like a shield.
Yeah.
So when these kids walk into class, the energy will bounce back, and you might have to do that a few times a day, but you can do it sitting at your desk and just envision it. So no one's going to be like, oh, what are you doing? You can do it very low key.
Wow.
So that takes 2 seconds.
Got it.
The other homework I give is a 17-second meditation. So all you need is 17 seconds to quiet your mind and feel the energies around you. So those are the first steps for my first day of class, usually, is energy protection and knowing how to quiet your mind for 17 seconds. Another crucial thing we do in this class is I want to talk to the children about their experiences. What's happened to them? Are you hearing voices in your head? Do you have like an innate knowing about something you shouldn't technically know about? Like if you're 4 years old and you know how to play like Mozart on the piano, why? There's something there.
Yeah.
And let's learn about it. Also, like voices in the head is a huge one for children. They're getting downloads from spirit all around them. And I want the kids to like talk to me about it. How does this make you feel? Is it scary? Is it enlightening? Because a huge part of this is being strong in your abilities and controlling what is happening. Because if these kids don't understand how to control it, they're going to go crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And some people like people on the streets when they're like running, homeless people, if they're like, have you seen God and have you talked to Jesus today? You know what? Like, they're probably extremely psychic and no one has helped them. So they've maybe turned to drugs and alcohol because they're going crazy. They see spirits everywhere, So that's also something I wonder about. Like, if that's where a lot of drug and alcohol
comes from. Never thought about that.
Yeah. You know what? It's a good example.
Wow.
But remember Donnie Wahlberg at the beginning of The Sixth Sense?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Bruce Willis.
Uh-huh.
The movie goes to show you he went crazy because he was just seeing ghosts his whole life and no one could help him because no one understood.
Wow.
I'm not saying that's going to happen to people's children, but I just want people to be aware that our kids are very, very intuitive and they possess the strong abilities to make our world a better place if we just recognized this.
And let me ask you this. Not everybody is open to this. You're dealing with skeptics all the time, and also parents and siblings and people who don't even understand their own or try to understand their own child or daughter or a friend or a mother. And have you ever gotten in a situation where you're teaching someone, like one of these students, and like the parent was very dismissive about it? Or do you always bring enlightenment and kind of make them a believer in a sense?
Well, I think a lot of the kids who I work with, their parents have recognized this, and actually it's their parents that sign their kids up. So the parents are very open and wanting to learn this. They've recognized that their child is a bit different. A lot of intuitive kids are extremely sensitive. They're very strong-willed. They have talked about past lives, and and I think it happens to almost every parent, and whether they recognize it or not, so yeah, a lot of my students, they've been signed up by the parents, but the kids are definitely willing to do this.
Good. Wow. I can imagine. And like, the truth is there's, let me ask you this. You mentioned you did a reading for was it geometry teacher or what?
Yeah. Teacher.
So everybody knew about your talents, was it hard to have friends and explain this to them? Were they accepting at first? Were you treated differently at first? I mean, that's so cool. Your teacher believed in you, but like, was it always that way, or you were shy about it? Or how did they find out about it?
I was super shy growing up until I got into high school, and then I kind of let loose. So no, it was always fun for me because people would come up to me in class and asking me like, I think I have a ghost in the house. What can I do? So I would give them tips and tricks and how to do that. So yeah, people always called me weird, but weird is good.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll never forget the look on my economics teacher's face because we were sitting there and he was asking me this economics question, and I hated economics, but I was really good at it for some reason. And I just looked at him, and this is how the reading began. I looked at him and I just said, "Did you know you were a knight in Ireland in your past life?" And his face, Joel, just turned ghostly white. And he just kind of sat there, and the whole class was like, because he was a scary teacher. And so they thought, you know what I mean, kicked me out of class. And he sat down and he's like, yeah. He's like, had a connection to Ireland and being a knight. And he's like, finally, last year I traveled there.
And
Jamie, and you're not going to believe this. I walked into a church, and now I'm getting goosebumps.
Chills.
I walked into a church, and there was a mural of a man on a horse. He was a knight, and his face was my face.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. So he kept me aside after class, and we had a chat and we talked, and I told him about my past lives and stuff, and actually became friends students for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Had someone to talk to. He was in his 50s, and he's been holding this his entire life.
Wow.
Finally someone believed him, and whatever. So yeah. So again, if our kids and teens are nurtured and encouraged to grow and develop, their lives are just going to be so much fulfilled. And they're here to make our world a better place. And my dad was always kind of skeptical about all this. He's my number one fan now. I've talked to his parents who died before I was born. He's been able to have conversations with them, and unfinished business. And he's so supportive of me now, whereas 40 years ago,
Yeah.
he's found the spirituality in his life as well. So, it's an effect, a domino effect per se.
Wow. And obviously you work with so many different people, from training them to getting their, the spiritual awakening out of them to make them understand it. And then you're also here helping others contact those on the other side. So this is so cool. I didn't know you also trained other healers and mediums. This is awesome.
Right. And one of my teens, she's phenomenal. On her third class with me, she's in round 2. So she's keeps signing up for these. In her third class with me, Jill, she gave me a mediumship reading. And this girl had she's 15. She didn't know she was capable of it.
Wow.
In spirit. And we worked together. And on day 3, I'm like, okay, give me a reading. And she was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I'll guide you through it. And we do baby steps. Okay, are you feeling a man, woman? What's that relationship to me? And she pulled in my grandma. She even got her name pretty accurate. She thought my grandma's name was Beth. My grandma's Bertha. So the reason she didn't get the name 100% is because it wasn't in her frame of reference. That's not a common name for people. She was like, is it like Beth? And I'm like, it's Bertha. So, she did that after 3 classes.
Wow. Now, do you have regular, ordinary people who are just regular who say, I want to try to tap into what I have? Can you help me? Is it possible? I mean, I'm sure there's no guarantee, but do you think anyone could develop some technique, some skill? Like, we're all capable?
100%. We're all just been conditioned by society to put a wall up. So if you're ready and willing, it's so easy to get that wall down. I also teach animal communication classes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my students with that, they're like, I don't know, like, can I really do this? And they're doing a reading, so we all have that ability inside of us. It's just triggering that other part of the brain that has been left stagnant for years, probably because we were told as kids we were crazy. So yeah, it's great. Anyone can do this. And I would recommend it for anyone, because once you understand how energy works and you can invite it back into your life, it actually makes life quite a bit more enjoyable. You're more at peace with yourself. Things don't bother you as much. You can see past drama in everyday life, just kind of rise above it, because it's energy and raising vibration.
Wow.
So my 9 and 11-year-olds this week.
That's so cute that they have this. By the way, did their parents have this sixth sense in a sense, or no? They do.
Yeah. Their mother is very intuitive, and that's why she was really encouraging them, because she's intuitive, but how do I start with them? We're actually learning, they wanted to learn about pendulums this week. So we're going to be working with energy and pendulums, and we're actually going to be playing over Zoom a game of hide and seek. So their mom is going to be helping me with this. She's going to hide an object in their house. She's going to draw a map of their house, and I'm going to teach them how to work with a pendulum and do map dowsing. And so they have to find this object because
Wait, I don't know what that is. Does that mean they're just so intuitive they're going to find it? Or what is this?
Yes. So I'm going to use a pendulum. So it's whether even like a string with a heavy object on the bottom, you know, and for centuries, people have been using pendulums to find water, map, and it's called map dowsing. So you go over the map and the pendulum will, for example, go in a clockwise direction when you have the energy of something. So you state your intention. I want to find water, and the pagans and our ancestors would do this over the land until they found water. So the kids were interested in going this route, whereas my teen, she was interested in going the mediumship, give psychic readings route.
Wow.
So that's individual classes because it's based on everyone's needs and wants and their talents. So these kids are interested in doing this. So they're going to make their own pendulums, and you can even just get a string with a nut and bolt on the bottom, or even like they're going to get mom's necklace with a ring on it. That works as a pendulum, and mom is going to hide an object, and I'm going to teach them how to quiet their mind, because we learned that 17-second meditation where they're going to calm their mind, and we're going to set an intention. And by setting an intention, the energy goes out.
Mm-hmm.
Intention is going to be finding this object that mom hid. So I'll go over the basis of the pendulum with them, and we're going to see how they do. And what that's training our kids is using their energies.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fabulous. I used to play it as kids.
I want to try this with my own kids or myself. I mean, I've heard about the pendulum when it comes to Reiki, and Reiki is an energy healing modality. And like the woman says, well, the pendulum will start turning if there's disruption up counterclockwise, for example. Yeah. So, okay. Similar thing because it's energy. That's similar, right? Cool.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
It's going to be a really fun class and interactive with them because that's the way they want to go. So again, that's why I want to do individual classes.
Awesome.
People up with a group of friends if they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, it'll be stronger for each individual because we want to hone their personal abilities and which direction they want to go.
Great.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are out of time.
Oh, gosh, that was fast.
29 minutes. We're here already. Tell us how we can reach out to you, please, darling.
JaimeBreeze.com, JaimeBreeze.com, and on Instagram at The Mountain Medium. Thanks so much, Jill.
And by the way, do you offer an initial discovery call if there's a parent, client out there listening, just to see if it's a good fit for you to give a call?
100%.
Awesome. That's good to know. I like that. Because it says a lot about you and about them. Some people charge for the initial call, but I wouldn't either if I had, right? Because thank you. I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Jaime, thank you again. I appreciate it. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, the same. We'll be back next. Hopefully I'll be back with you next week, but we'll be back in just a second with another show. Bye, sweetheart. Thank you. Bye. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.